We thought about it that most likely after this kind of expert sessions, you are flashed, right? So that was a bit purposely done. And I also have to say, what kind of questions to ask when this kind of experts talk to you. But I think it's thrilling listening to them, and it is really, if you want to develop these multiple niches where GF is playing in, we're going to have experts in each and every of the niches so that we know what are the solutions and what is the language to speak to succeed with our solutions. So we are now ready to take your questions for a final round. So they can obviously comprise the whole day. So we have all our experts in the room. So we should be able to answer most of your questions.
So you mentioned before in the building solutions part that some architects, engineers, or just clients enter all their specifications into an LLM model, and you have to make sure that you're part of the answer there. Maybe you can tell us something about that. How are you doing that?
Should I? I mean, the whole point is really offering not only the technical solutions, but also the service solutions. And more about, we are now, not selling components, you sell the whole thing. And for our clients, the response time to the market becomes more and more the critical factor. And we have only building flow solutions, about 100 people who do nothing more than providing the drawings, working on solutions, etc. And we integrate all these components more and more also with AI. So it's the quality of the whole solutions. It's more integrative parts. It's proposing more of the whole solutions within GF and doing this with better quality in faster time.
I can see that, but specifically, if you want that somebody types in the specifications and you're part of the answer that the ChatGPT delivers, do you have a team actively working to be part of the results there?
I think, that was a very interesting observation which we did after ISH, where we have published a lot of trade press articles. And that most likely has been the source of the large language models to give the answer that the most appropriate system to renovate your underfloor heating systems is the GF Uponor Sikus 16. And so it is a bit of a funny thing, if you look at how a Gen AI going to work on the answers, it's going to screen the entire, let me say, available information. And it comprises and concludes an information. Maybe you have to talk a bit more positively about your solutions, then you will pop up a bit earlier, in the large language models. To be very honest, it's maybe that simple it is.
But there's one thing which is
bit of a black box.
Yeah, the one thing which is super critical, really super critical, is data quality. So our ability to really provide really world-class content, so that somebody who does the specification exactly finds the right answer, and then it fits, and that's really critical.
And maybe from my side, AI is not moving right now in the direction, but it's just a matter of time before there will be advertisements. They haven't opened that box yet. Just wait until that happens. Then it's going to be really interesting.
They just announced it.
Okay.
This morning.
All right.
So it's coming. But long story short, as Michael said, the data which we're going to open up to the community, need to be enlarged and of utmost quality. And obviously, trade press plays a key role, but use cases and applications. So ultimately, you get the right answer if you would search, if a Gen AI-based search machine would propose our product to you. All right?
Thank you. Also 2 to 3 questions from my side. I would take them one by one. The first question is, you said it's about scope rather than scale. So you also focus, of course, on the product offering. You want to become the Amazon of the piping industry. I think you have around 100,000 SKUs. Is in the next 5 years your number of SKUs increasing materially again? Or is it that you also have room for some pruning? Just to start with the first question here, please.
I think, what shall I say? Of course, there is room for pruning. And I would like to set it right. When I said Amazon, it is the ease of deal with. I don't want to be an Amazon. I want to be as easy to deal with as with Amazon. I'll give you an example. If you're going to need a birthday gift for the upcoming Saturday evening dinner party, right, you rely most likely on Amazon because it's delivered next day. You may not go to the original source of the producer of this product because you don't know whether you get it on time. And I want us being recognized as the most reliable and easiest to deal with partner in the Flow Solutions universe. Okay.
Is your number of SKUs in the next 5 years increasing?
I said it, there's room for pruning.
Okay,
it will not go up, and I think
right.
Whenever we launch something new, we're going to have the opportunity. And I think Michael has demonstrated, he's dropped the SKUs by 60%. And yes, of course, we have been a bit shy on this topic in hindsight, but I think we have quite a lot learned, from Michael's team in regards to how to do effectively and efficiently pruning. And Thomas will take on this role, but we should not neglect the fact the industrial product range competitiveness is also partially caused by having this large product range. And many of these products, and I'm not mistaken, a lion's share, the valve business, 20 to 25,000 are in a configurator. But Thomas?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's part of it. On the one hand side, on the industrial side, it's very important that you create seamless system with the perfect connectivity just for the performance of the system. And a big part of those SKUs, as Andy mentioned, is configured products. There's a configurator, and you can create out of several, let's say, components, thousands and thousands of different SKUs, which are not stock-holding SKUs at all. It's not part of a complexity. It's just a potential to modularize your products. So this SKU, the 100,000, is not really 100,000. It's much less, to be honest. But as Andy also said, we are working on the hygiene process to make sure that we're driving the efficiency and the effectiveness, obviously, of our supply chain. So this is certainly something which is on the radar.
Thanks. And the second question, you also said it's about margins are going up, not so much because of scale, but because of growing in the right markets, in the high-end margin markets. Can you just remind us of the 4 to 5 key markets which are high margin? I assume it includes semi. It likely includes now marine. Yeah, just marine.
Exactly. Chemical process industry is also one of the more profitable. And we also have inroads into the desalination market, which is also an area where we are highly specialized. But there is actually a multitude of business development opportunities, especially in the area of Thomas, and maybe you can allude to, you mentioned some of them, but they are all in the higher end of the profitability scale.
I mean, it's what we call the advanced industries pretty much. There's a metal refining connected to it, which speaks perfectly to polymer solutions because of the abrasiveness and the aggressiveness of the media and the processing. So metal, after metal mining, metal refining. HVDC, so these big topics about high voltage direct current transmission lines, voltage stacks is a big topic with superior margin profiles. And as Matt's already alluded to, marine, semicon, data centers, these are 5. Just an example where we see growth, but also attractiveness, which is certainly accretive to our portfolio.
And let me also allude a bit to our other business areas. In infrastructure, when we have seen this kind of chamber business, this prefabrication, this solution, these engineered solutions, I think we talk about high margin businesses in this region. And you speak about yourself, in your case, it's very much regional, but...
I mean, we talked a bit about PACs in the US and how sticky this business is in the United States. And then, of course, you enjoy the margin, you have the pricing power there. And in Europe, you saw really, we now move an underfloor heating business, which almost dropped to commodity, into a highly attractive business again, combined with cooling, with smart tricks, etc. And all of a sudden, of course, the margin looks completely different. But of course, we need to add value. And the moment we can add value, if through services or a superior product, then we enjoy different margin. EcoFlex is a good example. it's a high margin product.
Sorry, you can go back in the queue, but one very last question. The CapEx line, 100 to 160 million per annum, quite a variation. Just to double check this, is there any large new production sites you're planning over the next 2 years, which is included there?
We're finalizing our Poland, the consolidated plant. Other than that, we have more or less completed the larger construction projects that we had in the last couple of years.
And then why this big range, 1 to 160 million?
Well, if our data center takes off in the exponential development, we would potentially need to invest more in 1 or 2 years. And we also seen in the past that we have quite a fluctuation from year to year. We've had years with BFS, with Michael down to 27, 30 million, right? Whereas in a maintenance situation, they're running more about 40, 45 million. So we have a big span. And a lot of it has to do with also the projects finishing successfully. Some of them are delayed because of logistical issues or whatever. And this has led to that you really, in a 12-month period, you can have a lot of variation from one to the other.
Thank you.
Can you maybe elaborate a bit more on the economic assumptions behind the growth target of organically 4 to 6%? Because in the first half year, the business was stagnating more or less. The environment wasn't good. There's a lot of uncertainty in investments. So there must be a better environment.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the question. We have a positive development. We are not assuming a crisis in the period. The markets have typically given us 2 to 3% basis level. We also have some pricing factors, but it's only about 1% in the growth there. But we expect a recovery in the European construction industry, in the residential, but also commercial market. Underlying is also that the current slump in the industrial investments is going to come to an end. We also do not think that it is an eternal situation. And a continued investment into the infrastructure, as we've seen lately in many North American, but also in many other countries around the world. So we have a positive growth assumption underlying GDP-wise.
Yeah, and the overamplification over the secular trends is the new business opportunities, as we have outlaid them today. I think it's multiple. A lot of them play together in terms of synergies. We spoke about from system or from component to system and solutions. In our infrastructure business, we want to make best use of the channels, emerging and embarking on a journey where we haven't been present before. And I think the retail business in the US should give additional growth. It should give us a share in this very nice and very stable refurbishment and renovation market. So it's with all these initiatives which we have outlaid today, we're going to have piled up quite a few which should deliver this above secular trends growth. I would like to quickly remind also GF has been transforming in the last 3 years substantially. And yes, of course, you could say divesting a casting or divesting a machining solutions business doesn't affect the other businesses, but it affects the overall people within GF. And the reorganizational structure to leverage more and scale a bit our service functions also doesn't come without any friction. So all over, Michael was integrating the building technology products more or less over the last 18 to 24 months now. And it all started with master data, getting access to this information, putting these products in front of a wholesalers in Europe to actually be able to drive a pull effect at one point of time. So it is a bit in a sequence, and Mats very often says our entire industry moves with glacier speed, which means, it's a pretty conservative environment. But long story short, amidst this strong transformation, obviously some frictions and to find new places also are not to neglect. And we have set the base with a lot of things in our strategy 2030, but even before, to get much closer to the customer. I think Thomas mentioned it in one of his presentations, customer-facing time, customer-facing services and engineered is what we have on the agenda for the years to come.
And if I might add, the customers love this story. And all the customers we went to, you get out of the door with more business. And if this is in bigger projects, I was in the Middle East. I'm coming into this meeting with a colleague from the I&I side and from the building side. And after 10 minutes of introduction, I basically shut up and let my colleagues go. And the next day we have a desalination project and a commercial building project. And I was the door opener. And I was thinking after this meeting, what would have happened? At least we would probably won one arm, but not the other. And this is the power of the GF model. One example.
With the new setup which you just mentioned, what would you say on the purchasing side, on the sourcing side, would be now any major challenging?
On the sourcing side for GF, our supply chain, we have, this is already an integrated operations. We have one global sourcing organization now. That was the first consolidation we did. I sometimes forget even to speak about it. Now we have one global supply chain manager, which gonna looks into the procurement and gonna negotiate. As we may said, when we acquired Uponor some 2 years ago, one of the topics was that we have approximately 70% overlap of the material, but only a 30% overlap of the suppliers. And that was calling actually for consolidation of this kind of two functions. And just in the middle of this year, we have announced the global supply chain organization, which is being headed now by one person and cares for the procurement of all our 3 business areas.
If I may add, they integrated themselves. So it was not a top-down strategy. One day they came up, 2 groups, and proposed it absolutely makes sense. We put everything together, and they decided even on who would take the lead. They do this in sequence, and I thought this was for us internally a bit the master example how an integration really works.
And would there be any scarcity of certain materials in your case, or particular price changes or anything like that?
At this point of time, there's no scarcity foreseen in our materials. I think one of the bottlenecks in the previous years was the PVDF material, but this is now sorted out by the supply industry. Once again, a big thanks for the interest in our company and looking forward to see you somewhere in other meetings around this world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.